equally as important are the safety concerns for law enforcement. There's I wouldn't say famous, maybe infamous case out of Broward a couple of years back where it was a child sexual abuse material case. I believe it was 2 federal agents that went and did just a knock on the door, and the bad guy saw them through his doorbell camera, and he shot them through the door.
Really? He opened fire?
Yeah. So and he knew what they were there for. So that's why you have to come in heavy sometimes.
We have an unbelievable podcast today with Eric Baum from Filevine, one of the most amazing software companies, case management software companies for lawyers around the world. Eric Baum is the founder of an amazing technology company called Parrot, which was acquired by Filevine. It is now called Depositions by Filevine, and it takes depositions to the next level. You want to watch this podcast and listen to what we have to say about a whole bunch of stuff, but this Depositions by Filevine is a game changer. Also a product called CoPilot, which is going to help you take your deposition, but you're going to save costs. You're going to be able to search your depositions. You're going to be really taking your deposition skills to the next level with this product. It is the newest, most cutting edge technology that you could use for your law firm. You have to watch this video.
3, 2, 1, let's go.
You get really smart kids, really successful kids that get tripped up in that.
They fall for it. So they're getting catfished, and so then they may send something, and they're actually sending it to an adult.
They're sending naked pictures or lewd acts of themselves to someone they think is a hot girl, right, their age or older.
Then how do you find out that the defendant, the bad actor, how do you find that they did it?
So, unfortunately, a lot of these cases end up in tragedy. You get a lot of kids that suicide. You get it's terrible. There are not so terrible endings, but you find out because like the parents find out. The ones that don't end in tragedy because the parents find out.
Yeah, but then you go find the defendant, right? Like if like parent finds kid sending something to someone who they think is a girl their age or a boy their age or whatever, then the parent how do the parents take the next step to be able to say this is an adult that's on the other side?
Parents report to the police, and the crux of a lot of social media and cyber investigations is preservation of the social media account, and then with subpoenas, most of the social media companies are pretty responsive when it comes to crimes against children.
Yeah.
And so they will preserve, so basically freeze the account so you can't delete it or modify it. And then they will they may lock you out, but on the administrative side, they'll preserve the records. And then they have the IP addresses, they have the phone number that the user used to sign up.
Got it.
The email address they used to sign up, maybe the address they bought stuff through. So you have and then you find out the Gmail, right? So let's say it's a Gmail. You find that they used a Gmail, Mike Jones 123 at gmail.com. So you're subpoenaing, you're getting all the records from what's called the ESP, the electronic service provider, which would be an Instagram, whatever it may be, a Facebook, and then you start to pull the thread. So from let's say Instagram, you get their phone number and their Gmail account. Yeah. So then you subpoena the phone company that hosts that number, and you find out their records further through that, and you also subpoena Google, and you find out their backup email address, and you find out more information about them. And so you
start to put together the pieces of the puzzle of who this person is.
Right.
And then once you have enough evidence, is there an indictment that happens, or how does it happen? Or you file an information, or you go out and you just...
So you're not going to file the information right away. And indictment's really more of a federal term or a homicide term. But what you would do from there is that you start with a subpoena, and then you'd go to a search warrant. So you would, once you have enough information to develop probable cause, what you can get with a subpoena is not so much content, right? You can get their user account information. And there's case law on this as far as how much you can get from a subpoena. And so then once you develop enough probable cause, you would then submit a search warrant. You do an affidavit, you get it from the judge, where you get an affidavit and you get it signed by the judge. And then you would submit the signed search warrant to Google to Instagram, and then once you have probable cause, and then you get records of their messages, right? So you can actually pull the messages that bad guy sent to kid. You can get their emails, and in there you can see if you're trying to find identity in an issue in any of these cases, right? You can see, okay, they ordered something from Amazon and it was sent to this house, and so now you have their address, right? So you start to put the pieces together of who it is, and then but most importantly, you get the message thread. You get all the messages, the photos that were sent back and forth, the videos sent back and forth, and so once you put all that together, the next step is typically you're gonna make contact with the person. You're not just going to
before you file information, before you do anything, you want to make contact, see if you can get an admission.
You're going to do it exactly. You're going to do an interview. There may be other steps depending on the type of criminal conduct, but you want to conduct an interview with that person to see if they will admit to.
Yeah, and you want to do it on like, not like bringing them into the station. You want to do it on like the relaxed terms of they don't realize they're about to be arrested. They don't realize, and then you can start getting this information because you want the admissions.
Exactly, and the way you conduct that point of contact depends often on the type of crime that it is. For some of the child sexual abuse material cases, you hit the house with the SWAT team. You're not
really,
and because you don't want to give them time to destroy the evidence.
That's a search warrant,
right? You're doing a residential search warrant. So it depends on the type of, again, it depends on the type of crime.
Are you going to be, did you see during, I guess, your career, like the SWAT is able to go, is it like exigent circumstances there, but it just break through that door and find the material? Do they got to knock, announce?
There's a knock and announce, but it's been a couple of years since I've done them.
Either
but
way, though,
it's in case law, talks about how much time you have to wait, but you knock, and sometimes they open the door pretty quickly, and sometimes it's one of the doorbusters.
Yeah, I bet the law basically says, like, listen, the time it takes to delete something is like 30 seconds or a minute, like wait 15 seconds and get in there to make sure it doesn't get deleted.
Right. You throw something, they see you like on a Ring camera or something, they'll go throw their hard drives in the toilet, they'll break them, smash them, put bleach on them, stuff like that.
Wow.
So there's the evidence preservation concerns. I would say equally as important are the safety concerns for law enforcement. There's I wouldn't say famous, maybe infamous case out of Broward a couple of years back where it was a child sexual abuse material case. I believe it was 2 federal agents that went and did just a knock on the door, and the bad guy saw them through his doorbell camera, and he shot them through the door.
Really? He opened fire?
Yeah. So and he knew what they were there for. So that's why you have to come in heavy sometimes.
So now I got to step back, because this is
this is a different direction.
No. But I do want to talk about it as we get this thing started, because your background, your career, everything that you've done up until now has made you the perfect person to create the product that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But go back just for a second so I understand this. You're saying that that the prosecutor's office or law enforcement can subpoena before getting a warrant?
That's correct. So you would subpoena the electronic service provider, which would be somebody like Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, or you'd also, once you get the information, you'd go after what's called the ISP, or the internet service provider, Xfinity, Comcast, AT&T, whoever it's going to be. And all this is to build the bricks, right, of that house of the case, to find out who, let's say the user, let's say you have a Snapchat user, your victim's parents come in, right, and they show you their son's phone and they go, look, this is who my son was sending these messages back and forth to before he killed himself. And so you have a username, right? You have whatever, the girl they were pretending to be, to Tiffany123. Well, who's Tiffany123? So you would subpoena Instagram or Snapchat for the user details of who that is, and that's
what's the mechanism, I guess, that allows you to do that without the warrant? Like that first,
it's a subpoena. It's a subpoena to the internet service provider.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, is it that there's no reasonable expectation of privacy with respect to like a username and then like the email address behind it? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's part of, you're sharing it. You're sharing the information, and in the terms of service, there's a lot to unpack in there. But there is the terms of service and the user agreement, and all of it's in there. And some of them, it talks about how they will comply with law enforcement subpoenas and search warrants. But yeah, there's in a lot of that stuff, there's not a reasonable expectation.
I love it.
There are cases, I build cases, right, just on, and put together evidence in trial just on, from public Instagram pages.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Bad guys holding guns, drugs and stuff in photos on their Instagram page.
Yeah. So you have the public information.
Yeah.
But what people probably don't know is it could be you could subpoena stuff without having to go to the court, get a warrant,
right?
Gather some of the data, whether it's a username, but you can't get all the data. You got to get some of the data.
Right. You can't get what's called again. It's been a couple of years, but you can't get the content of messages. You can get some information, things like the user information, but not content.
Yeah, I think of that case out of Idaho, that Brian Koberger case. I don't know if you remember that. He was like, he murdered like four college, college kids, and just the amount of law enforcement work behind getting all the data and finding his Amazon account, finding his Google account, and getting his, the TikTok account, the whole bunch of different stuff where they're able to get these search warrants and then actually get the content within it.
And that's where, and so good investigators and good prosecutors, I mean, you get as much as you can before before hitting the house, before conducting that interview, because you also then you go and you confront them with that. So if you're in Miranda and you do your interview, and they go, I don't Tiffany 123, I don't know what you're talking about, man. And you go, okay, well here's your Snapchat account, and the email address signed up with is brianjohnson@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And the phone number where they confirmed they had to send the confirmation email to for you to even have the account is your phone number. And so, I mean, let's see. So you ask in the interview, what's your phone number, right?
Yeah.
That's the phone number you just gave me.
Oh, man. This is like Chris Hansen on like the next level.
Well, there's a whole other stuff like Chris Hansen.
Next level.
about that. But
yeah,
good investigators don't just go talk to the bad guy. I mean, you build up your case, you build up your information, and then you go and conduct your interview, or you do your residential search warrant. So that is definitely one of the battles. So I still do some training for prosecutors. I still help out, and one of the battles that is going on right now behind the scenes is between tech companies and government and law enforcement about where there's a number of tech companies that are trying to get more restrictive laws around what they actually have to turn over. And so they don't want to have to, some tech companies do not want to have to turn over these records. Meanwhile, law enforcement is screaming, why are you trying to, we get it. You want to protect the average Joe Schmo user. We don't care about them. We're trying to go after the people that, the bad guys that are hurting people. So we need to get access to that. And there's quite a lot of active case law around, like geofence warrants. I don't know if you're familiar with that, which is, where, let's say a murder occurs, let's say in here, let's say for
within the
office,
Davie, Florida,
right? You have no idea who shot them. So for example, like a geofence search warrant will let you do is you can just say, I want all the information on all the devices of anybody whose phone was pinging off, the nearest tower, or information whose phone's connected to the Wi-Fi networks in the area at the time, within the time range of the murder. And so you can now, without more leads, you can now narrow down, okay, so we know this, maybe let's say 100 people was in that area. Okay. And then you get a hit, that they drove off in a Honda Accord, and you see them on a streetlight camera, an hour later at this place. So now you find out, you do the same thing for that location. And so you see, okay, so now
this person and that devices. Person were both in the...
So which numbers, which devices were in both places? And so you kind of keep cross-referencing known locations. So there's a lot of battles happening right now in the courts about how much should law enforcement be able to get.
Where we are investigative wise is just so unbelievable. What I mean? It's so unbelievable. Like the amount of information and data that you're able to get. And in cases where people try to get away, they leave really very, very little behind, but there's a lot more that they think than they really realize. You know what I mean? Like you said, geofencing. Their phone pinged somewhere. There's a car that ends up getting picked up. Then they're seeing that same phone gets pinged in another area, and then you're able to start putting the dots together that this is our suspect.
Yeah, I mean, Google. Most people would be surprised at how much information these internet service providers have on you. And so if your phone, I mean, I think most people's phone, your Wi-Fi, the setting is on, right? Because when you get to your office, you want to make sure it connects. When you get home, you want to make sure it connects. Well, the phone's doing the same thing as you're driving around, right? You drive by a Starbucks, it's talking connecting to the Starbucks and it's trying to talk to it and connect. Well, now there's a record in your phone of pinging, trying to connect to the Starbucks. Yeah, there's a mall, there's a whatever it is. So everywhere you're driving, it's constantly pinging off of all these potential networks and towers, and so it's great in terms of our ability to track bad guys and girls.
Yeah.
But there are battles happening right now at the highest levels in the court system, trying to fight. Can you have just cameras that are running 24/7 in all locations, and can you pull should law enforcement be able to can the city, can the government just set up cameras everywhere so that something happens? Like, okay, we're going to pull that one, but it's constantly recording everybody 24/7.
Or even can the government just set up like their own little tower, like cell towers that are going to start picking up, it would be very expensive, but still.
So those are big battles that are happening. I don't know. That is, I'm a self-described case law nerd. I think that stuff is very interesting. All the stuff around, can you compel, like motions to compel password? I think those are super interesting. Like, can you compel a password to provide to hold their face up to the screen and unlock it with their face, or put their thumb, in the old iPhones, put their thumb in. Can you force them to disclose the password? Is the password, self-incriminating?
Is it testimonial?
Right. It's testimonial. So they're really cutting edge case law issues when it comes to prosecuting.
You're still reading them?
These cases. Yes.
Really?
I love it. It's very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting stuff. And I think that the industry I'm in now, which is more, with artificial intelligence, I think that there's a lot more that can be done.
Yeah, we got to talk about that, because you have like this wild career where you started. Just give me like the thumbnail sketch of your career, and then I want to unpack it a little bit more and talk about it.
Sure. So a sip of water real quick.
Yeah. I'll grab a little bit of matcha.
There you go. So today's podcast sponsored by matcha.
Yeah, I know.
Powered.
It's like matcha. Rocket fuel. So
rocket fuel for podcasting and logos.
All right, go ahead. Give me the thumbnail sketch of your career.
So before law school, while I was filling out my applications, while I was going through the LSAT process, earthquake happened in Haiti, January 2010. I had a friend that let a lot of his contacts know he was going to be going down to the airport, was going to be helping get on planes and move supplies, boxes back and forth, just helping however was possible. Asked if any of us wanted to go. I said, absolutely. I was, clerking at the time, was waiting for law school applications, was doing work, but I said, that is something, like my parents both raised me, parents were doctors, raised me to be a helper, look for the helpers. That's goal number one. So first night after the earthquake, went out there and started helping pack planes, going back and forth to Haiti, just bringing supplies over, helping get supplies over to the hospitals, flying back and forth. Did that for about 2 weeks. The University of Miami, the Miller School of Medicine, and one of their NGOs, Project MediShare, started working their operations out of the same small airport, Oblaka Airport, and asked me to help run their operations from there. Moved down to Port-au-Prince, Haiti, lived in the field tent hospital there for the better part of 6-7 months.
Really?
Right before law school. And just saw some awful stuff down there. Everything from fraud by some of the largest charity organizations that all of us are aware of, to not Project MediShare, not University of Miami, but some of these large organizations that were just subcontracting of these billions of dollars and many millions of dollars they were getting to other companies and just taking huge overhead and not even using it right. Fleets of vehicles sitting there, contrasted with this unimaginable stuff, bodies laying in the streets, 4 or 5-year-old kids just running the streets without parents. It was just absolute chaos. It's what I imagine a war zone looks like. And there was also a lot of sexual abuse that was happening in the tent cities, where mothers that didn't have food, didn't have supplies, were trading their bodies for supplies, for food, for medicine, for, and it was just a crazy experience. But it quickly led me to say, when I go to law school, this is what I want to stop. I want to go after bad guys that are taking advantage of women and children. And as soon as I got to law school, that is the path that I pursued. I wanted to be a prosecutor. I want to be in the special victims unit. This is what I want to do.
Wow. So the fire got lit when you went down and you were basically volunteering or working down in Haiti after the earthquakes. And then so you get to law school, and like, just tell me, like, what were some of the things that you did in law school? Because a lot of people that watch these podcasts, hey, how do I become a prosecutor? How do I get into either the special victims unit or domestic violence unit or whatever it is? What was your path? Because you knew when you got to law school, this is what I want to do.
So, state attorney's office. I wanted to work at the internship. Going into between 1 year and 2 year at the state attorney's office. You don't get a ton of choice. So I went to the University of Miami School of Law. Shout out for the U. You don't get a ton of choice the very first semester, first year, as to what your courses are, but I knew it was litigation. So you have to learn to be a trial attorney. Writing was never my strong suit at that time. I'd like to think that it's become my strong suit, but you have to learn. It's a fundamental skill. You have to learn to write. But you when I got the chance to pick, elective courses, it was trial team, it was lit skills, it was evidence. It was everything. It was everything to learn how to be an excellent trial attorney.
Mm-hmm. That's like very similar. It's interesting because I became a prosecutor, and I was a prosecutor for probably almost 2 years, but I didn't have the fire to become a prosecutor. I had the fire to become a trial lawyer, and I knew that was the path, at least in my opinion, was take all the trial skills you could take and then get to the prosecutor's office or the public defender's office, whichever. I mean, I was more leaning towards, I think, the prosecution. I felt like they'd be in court more, maybe, or trying more cases, because there's just lots of defendants that are, there's a lot of defendants plead out, but with the ones that don't, you're the one that's trying them. So, so I did the very, very similar path. Although I didn't have the fire, I wanted to be a personal injury lawyer and trial lawyer.
Right. I think you can equally. A couple things. I was not sure whether. So I came in wanting to be a prosecutor, and then when I started interning there, I wondered aloud. I interned for the Dade State Attorney's Office, and I said, I did start to think, though, like, do I need to see the other side of this?
Yeah.
Like, do I need to fully understand and comprehend the issues? Do I need to see the other side? This idea of justice that I wanted to attain for victims. Am I best served doing that as a prosecutor or as a public defender? And I wrestled with that. For a little bit. There was a period of time where I wrestled with that. And I had a conversation with a judge who was in the juvenile division at the time, and asked him that question. And I said, how can you obtain justice? Is it being on the defense side and finding who's wrongfully accused and making sure they get an amazing attorney and get a fair trial and get off? Or is it on the prosecution side? And very direct, very strong answer was, if you want justice, then and that's your feeling, everything, your background, everything you're describing for me, you want to be a prosecutor. Yeah. And the reason for that he described is because as the defense attorney, you can file motions, you can have conversations with the prosecutor, you can hope your motions get granted by the court, but you don't make the decision about whether someone gets charged or not. And you're the prosecutor, you get to decide if charges are filed. You get to make that decision. And
it's interesting because I do think, like, I'm over the years when as I was a prosecutor, like, I began to see more of, like, the defense side of things. Like, I could see, okay, maybe this police officer wasn't being truthful or not a straightforward person, right. And you start to see, like, some of this a little bit of injustice, right? But for the most part, the prosecutors that you're working with, and for the most part, the supervisor you're working with, they want the right outcome, right? They want this person who's committed this crime to be appropriately punished, whether it's jail or probation or rehab, whatever it ends up being. But it's I think it is rare that you're seeing someone who's totally innocent. You know what I mean? That's rare. And then there's the other side of things where it's like someone can be found not guilty, doesn't mean they're innocent. You know what I mean?
Right. But that's where you have prosecutorial discretion around what plea should you be offering. And again, when it comes to it takes a lot of experience to learn. It's not just whether you know someone committed the crime. It's what can you prove?
Can you prove the
court?
elements? Yeah, beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right. I do, but to the way you described your mentality, for the early part of my career, I thought like there's nothing more noble that I can be than a prosecutor. There's no better path that I can pursue. But I learned actually post being a prosecutor and where I am now, going to some of these conferences and speaking to lots of civil attorneys, being a personal injury attorney is just as impactful, more, in a different way than putting away the bad guy that did it. It's whether it's the tobacco cases, right, that you had, and stopping big business from putting products out there that they know are killing people, to people in the construction, like in construction, you're doing faulty construction. Or faulty cars or product defects. It's there's awful cases, wrongful death cases where stuff is poorly built or poorly maintained, or someone did something and it's just not a crime. It's not a crime. And so that is the way where you get justice, where you get as much justice as you can for the family will be through personal injury, being a civil attorney. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, for me at least, I think it's the most rewarding career possible. I'm not representing the big company. I'm not representing the insurance company. I'm not defending. I'm helping this person who's been wronged, and I'm able to use everything that I've got, all the skills, everything, to be able to stand up against anyone, because like universally the defense is going to want to undermine and give as little as possible to this person who's been harmed, and they're suffering, and they've got, and there's varying degrees of it, you know what I mean? But I love it. I mean, that was like it was funny because when I was in law school, you had your experience, right? My experience was I went to a big law firm, like an international law firm, a defense firm, and I hated it. Their trial team never went to trial. Their associates were stuck in the offices, no depositions, no hearings. And like, I never met the clients. We were doing this, billing. And then I read a book about a trial lawyer who was a personal injury and medical malpractice lawyer. And just the adventures of him going up against these doctors and corporations and winning, you know what I mean? And holding people accountable. And that was that's what I picked. But you're a lot of people, they like, you were at the state attorney's office for a long time.
I was there for 8 years.
8 years. And that's like I think there's different prosecutors. There's prosecutors that go like me, who it's like, okay, this is kind of like a stepping stone to either going into, personal injury or something else, or civil defense. And it's a shorter stint, right? And then there's other career prosecutors. Did you plan to be a career prosecutor, or did you want to be short term? What,
I wanted to get my loans paid off. Life had a different path. I know we'll talk about it in a bit. But I wanted to be a career prosecutor. I wanted to go to the U.S. Attorney's Office after. That was always my goal. I've always saw myself as being a prosecutor.
Yeah. That's and you were there for 8 years. You saw everything. And when you were at the state attorney's office, just give me the overview of what were the different divisions that you were assigned to during that time.
So I started in misdemeanor. I spent time in misdemeanor as a division lead in misdemeanor. Did some time in juvenile, then went to felony, and started doing the prosecuting juvenile sex crimes, just sex crimes committed by juveniles, which you could have a whole other podcast about.
Yeah.
And then went to the special victims unit, and with the focus again, with the focus on internet crimes against children,
and you
human trafficking cases too.
Yeah. And so we're gonna have to get into like obviously the reason you're here, right?
Sure.
Because you are not just a brilliant prosecutor, but a brilliant entrepreneur, business owner, startup owner, and we got to talk about that, right? So tell us just a little bit about the company that you created and who you're with now.
So towards the end of my career as a prosecutor, there were a lot of things going on in 2020. My wife and I had our first kid on the way, and at that time also my stepson Max, who was 7 at the time, was diagnosed with cancer. There were, I just think more about my future and government attorneys. God bless, but it's just not the biggest salaries. That's not what we're there for.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about my future. I'm blessed to have a brother who is very much a visionary, and he's been in the Silicon Valley tech world for well over a decade, has started, built, and sold, and had very involved with venture capital as far as building startups and developing artificial intelligence for almost 2 decades now. So he asked me we're close, and he asked me a very straightforward question. He said, what is the most inefficient part of your job that could be solved by technology? And this was with the goal of saying, I want to help you build something. I want you to make enough money to support your family. I want you to progress. And the answer to that question was very simple, because most prosecutors, specialty units have stacks of disks on their desk, and you are listening to hours and hours of jail calls. You are watching body-worn camera. You are listening to suspect interviews and victim interviews and witness interviews, and that's how you determine whether you should file a case. That's how you put your trial. That's when you're doing your trial prep. That's what you're doing. You're finding the timestamps for what should you play, what parts of should you put in your closing, what should you quote, what should you put in your PowerPoint, and so I knew this was so much time that was spent by prosecutors and law enforcement, highly trained individuals that could be out there solving crime, doing investigations, and we're all listening many hours a week to media files to just write down timestamps, write down quotes, because getting certified transcripts is so incredibly expensive. And so I said, if there's something that would make me better at my job and make my job easier, would be if I could very quickly get a very accurate transcript of all these media files. And that is how it started. Is it
and the company that you end up creating, what is it called?
So Parrot.
And then and explain to me just kind of the overview of what Parrot was or is.
So Parrot, we started with the idea of, again, using automated speech recognition, very accurate, very highly trained automated speech recognition software, incorporating artificial intelligence to create very accurate transcripts of media files. And what we found pretty quickly is that just because something's a great idea doesn't mean it's a great business. So when we looked at the total addressable market for transcribing, these media files for prosecutors and police departments, it was very tiny compared to a transcript solution for depositions in the civil litigation.
Got it.
And so started looking into the different forms of court, like how is court reporting done? When I say today, it really in 2020, how is court reporting being done? Well, it's you pay a lot of money to have someone sit there and type the whole thing up.
Yeah.
But in most courtrooms across the country, the hearings, right, and in many cases trials, were being digitally recorded and being, having maybe not necessarily a shorthand reporter, but someone that's trained to type and understand what's going on in court, to just type notes of what's happening.
Yeah.
That combined with the way that we did depositions between the state attorneys and public defenders at the state attorney's office, which is you didn't have a court reporter there. So you had a witness management office, and you would have the state attorney, assistant state attorney would come in, assistant public defender, and the deponent. There'd be cameras and you'd have mics everywhere. A paralegal would come and swear the witness in and then leave, and the whole thing would be recorded. And I said and thought, if I can do sex crime deposition without a court reporter and just recording the thing, why can't we do a $5,000 or $10,000 accident case like that? And so that was really where,
because it's very different than what's on the line, right? You have a criminal defendant's liberty that's on the line, right, and the court allows you to record it. Now let's take a look at the civil arena, because there's just a whole bunch of more civil cases, and why aren't you able to just record that? Right. Yeah.
And you it's very inexpensive to take a deposition.
It is
the way we're doing it at the state attorney's office. So you have the ability to put more money in your client's pocket. And if we could develop the automated speech recognition, the technology produced transcript, and have it very accurate, well, you look at the percentages, most cases don't go to trial. So you need to know what happened at the deposition better than. It's funny. A lot of this was influenced by me just having terrible handwriting.
Yeah.
Because I said I can't take 4 depos today. I can't read what's happening in depot 3 and 4 anymore. To say if you get an accurate, useful version of the transcript, well, that case is not going to trial, so you don't need the certified. You need to know what happened, but if you don't have to spend that $1,000 on that transcript, well, now it's $1,000 back in your client who's hurting back into their pocket. And so it became, developing, the goal of developing very, very accurate technology-produced transcript, but still giving the attorneys the opportunity to order the certified if their case went to trial. And looking at the economics of it, almost all court reporting is done where you're penalized. Like if you work with one of these big box companies, you're essentially penalized for not ordering the certified. You get a no right fee or and so it became nobody was providing. There was no transparency in the billing, and it was a very inefficient. The court reporting model, the way they priced court reporting, it was, and in many cases still is, extremely inefficient for attorneys and their clients. Yeah,
I mean, I can definitely back that up. Just I could look at the cost that it is just to order a transcript or to order a rough copy. It's just the court reporting agencies are going to be charging a lot of money, and you came up with a solution that's going to save a ton of money for the lawyers that they're going to have to advance to get these transcripts so they know what the hell is going on in their case, and then separately, by not advancing that cost, case settles before you actually need the certified transcript. Client ends up getting more money in their pocket,
right? Which
is brilliant. But it's so funny how it came about, like the evolution of it. And I thought it was interesting. It was just coming to my mind is that you're sitting there, you know, as the prosecutor who's having to listen to these hours and hours, that it's going to be more efficient to have a transcript of it so that you can quickly scan through and read it than have to sit there hour after hour and listen
and re-listen to it. Right, and re-listen to it, because if I want, when I'm doing designations, right, or redactions for trial, I got to go back and see what page, what line number, and it's when I'm putting stuff into my motions, when I'm trying to review what happened at the depot, and that's where we really evolved, like doing summaries, where we evolved to say, we'll record every single deposition, audio and video, and we're not going to charge an arm and a leg for it, as opposed to what the competitors out there are doing. And so it became, how do you get actionable intelligence very quickly? Part of the problem too is how long it takes to get a transcript back.
Yeah.
During the time that I was developing this, like I had a human trafficking trial coming up, and it was like a month. I was waiting a month for a transcript to come back, and I'm on the phone with them. My paralegal's on the phone with them. Where's the transcript? We need it back. Trial starting next week. It became tracking down where the transcript was and how long it took. Even, the standard turnaround time, on a certified it's typically 10 business days.
Yeah, it's going to take a while.
I'm going, so now I have to wait. I can't take action on this. I can't use what happened at that deposition until I get that certified back.
Yeah, and plus just in the litigation field, like just what you're telling me, and the people that are watching, they have to understand. So Parrot now was acquired by one of the most amazing case management software companies that I work with them. I know just a ton of great lawyers work with them. Filevine.
Yep.
When did Filevine acquire Parrot?
So it would have been in mid 2025, and the way that we got there, right, is to take a couple steps back, is we got laughed out of a lot of rooms. I'd go like during my lunch hour, I'd go after hours to meet with a lot of civil firms with this idea of, you don't need a court reporter. Like, we'll get a paralegal, we'll get someone to swear someone in. And we got laughed out of a lot of rooms.
Yeah.
Because the civil attorneys just were not amenable in the way that criminal attorneys were to the elimination of the court reporter position. They wanted someone there to hand exhibits to. They wanted a neutral party sitting in the room with them. So my original idea was to do it like we had at the state attorney's office, where you just have swear the witness in, you record the thing. If you want a transcript later, you just upload it and you send each other the recording. If you want a certified later, you send it to us and we'll transcribe it for you.
Yeah.
But again, laughed out of a lot of rooms. And so he said, okay, we have to have the reporter there. But we have this problem where it's difficult to stand up a model where I have to make sure that I have a reporter in Jacksonville and Orlando and Miami and Gainesville and Tallahassee and everywhere.
Yeah.
I have to have infinite contacts. Like that's one of the big advantages that some of the big box court reporting companies had over us is just this infinite Rolodex of court reporters. They had brick and mortar and they had reporters everywhere. They could send people anywhere. They have coverage. So we came up with the idea of using video conferencing tools to say, we're not going to send you the reporter in person, but we will have a reporter there for your deposition, and they'll be there remotely. So there'll still be a reporter that have the independent neutral party there. They'll be taking the testimony down. We'll be operating the technology, the intelligence system, but they're going to be remote. And so that was the solve because they say, now I don't have to have someone in all these places.
Sure.
I can just have someone anywhere, and they can appear remotely. Same thing. Attorneys didn't like it. Nobody does remote depositions. I've never done a remote deposition. I want the reporter there. This will never work. You're crazy. And then COVID happened.
Yeah, so that, and I want to stop you there. Like, this is so interesting when Parrot is being developed. Is give me the timeline, like date wise, like or year wise.
Yeah,
like when was it being developed?
This is like mid to late 2020.
Mid to late 2020 is when it was developed, or
when we really released it. So it's like early. This is in 2020 is where all the R&D was happening.
Yeah.
And we were really.
It had to have been earlier. It had to have been early. It had to be in that early 2020 timeframe because there became this point in 2020 where we all realized like we have to take depositions on Zoom.
Yep.
And now this is something that we're going to live with, right?
Yeah. We were the only ones that were prepared to handle remote depositions.
And at the same time, it's so funny because Filevine was like just unbelievably useful during that time because it was all cloud-based.
Right.
And it wasn't like a slow remote, system where you had to remote in like another company. I think it was like TrialWorks. Like I would have to remote in and everything was just so slow and not easy. But I remember signing up, like I had TrialWorks. I got rid of it and went to Filevine so that I could log in and just like my whole team had access to the same stuff. It's all live. It's all working. It's in a cloud-based system, I think, so that it was like there was no delay. It was super fast.
Right.
And the world changed, but it's so funny because there was no one else. It's like you were, bro. It's like Bubba Gump Shrimp Company, man, dude. Like everyone else, no one was there, and you were the boat, man, that was surviving.
Everyone else's boats got lost in the storm,
and then the shrimp started coming in.
So everyone that told us we were crazy about having a reporter appear remotely was banging on our door, and we got started working with some insurance carriers. And that really became some of the big personal injury firms in South Florida on the plaintiff side, and it became social proof. It really became social proof because we weren't just the best equipped to handle a remote video conference deposition. We were offering something that nobody else in the industry is even contemplating. This idea of giving you, including in every single deposition, like a 97% accurate rough draft, a real time, all of it synced up, click and play during your deposition, audio, video on every single deposition without charging for it, and giving you this optionality in terms of ordering the certified, giving you summaries. Like nobody was doing this in 2020, 2021.
I'm like slapping myself that I didn't know about it. Like I wish you would have knocked on the door way back when, because like I would have switched over to it so long ago during that time, because here we are. We're paying for depositions. They're typing them up. We're waiting. Like for me to get a rough draft, I'm gonna get charged for it. For me to get a video, they're gonna charge a videographer extra person to show up on the screen. Right. For just getting stuff scanned. You know what I mean? And like just exhibits and things like that. So did Parrot evolve in that 2020 timeframe to handle all of that stuff, soup to nuts, depositions?
Yeah, that was the goal, and it was also looking at how court reporters were charging and identifying that we had a competitive moat on the technology side, but also in how we were going to bill. I think a lot of the big court reporting companies got content knowing that they could charge for stuff and they were the only game in town and there really was nowhere else to go. So there are an infinite number of stories I heard where the law firms were just fighting the court. They get a bill that had frivolous charges on it. They just fight it. They call into that shouldn't be on there. And after an hour or two of them or their paralegal fighting with the court reporting company, they'd get it taken off their bill. That's a regular story that I would hear, and still to this day hear, where like your managing partners are on the phone with these big core reporting companies saying, why are you charging me for this? That shouldn't be on there. Oh, we're so sorry. Won't happen again. A month later, same exact thing. Being charged for expedited when you shouldn't. And you look at the fees and it's crazy. Like it's particularly the core reporting companies that kept that videography fee when you were doing a remote depot, and you go, this is a toggle. Like this is a setting. How are you justifying charging $175 an hour to video record a remote video conference deposition? And you look at some of the fees. I mean, some of the fees are electronic delivery fee, which is, $50, $75 to email the transcript. You start looking at these and they start adding up. And so what I recognized was when we were having these pricing conversations with law firms, they'd go, well, you're charging this and that's more than whoever is charging me. And I would say, let me see the invoices.
Sure.
I know we're trained as attorneys, only ask questions you know the answer to, but I always ask, let me see the invoices. And they'd pull them up. And there's this, I don't know if you call it a phenomenon, maybe it's a blind spot. A lot of law firms I talk to, they go, I don't look at my core reporting invoices. Let me pull them up. Let me ask my paralegal to pull them up and see. And they pull them up and they go, I don't know what this is. I don't know. I have to go back and look at how many years they've been doing this, how many years they've been charging me for this.
I'm going to take, in a minute, I'm going to take a break. I want to print. No, I'm being serious. I want to print, and then we should talk about it. I'm going to print, like, I won't say which company it is, but let me take a look and just see, like, one of the invoices that we have, and then we can talk about, maybe, if you want to talk about it, how it's depositions by Filevine now.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And so it was a combination of really identifying, it's my brother was fortunate enough, like, where he had a Y Combinator backed startup. And so I've spent a lot of time reviewing and studying the materials that they put out there. And you can't just, you're doing a startup, you can't just create something that's a nice to have. Yeah. You have to create something that people need, something people want, a must have. And we identified a better workflow, better technology, more transparent pricing. I mean, all of it, soup to nuts. We identified really an industry that was just rife with, I don't want to say fraud, but rife with just like major problems, flaws, a lot of fluff in terms of what they were providing and how they were charging for it. A lot of the attorneys have this idea that the court reporter, for example, they're getting is this, angel sent down from heaven to type out a verbatim transcript. Yeah. And part of the motivation for this is I was getting transcripts where I was seeing errors in it. I think any litigator that's been practicing for long enough has seen this. But when I started looking into these big box court reporting companies and seeing what they were doing, they were sending like one person to the deposition, and then that person would record it, type some notes up, and then just send the file off to a team of people, to scopists, proofreaders, transcribers, to type it up. And so some of these conversations were involved in where they asked, who are using as reporters, and we talked about our training and the experience that they have, and they go, I would really like to be with this one person. I want to make sure I've been working with this one person for a while. I want to make sure we keep working with them. And I go and then I send them the materials on the website where they say, I don't know if you know how the sausage is made, but that's not who's actually producing your transcript. Really?
Yeah, man, that's interesting.
So there's a tremendous amount of room for improvement in the whole industry, and I think we hit it at the right time because the way that our software works, right? Because we were, again, this idea of staffing reporters to appear anywhere without having to have a relationship with hundreds of reporters across every state. Was incorporating our automated speech recognition technology through Zoom. And so that was what, like, we hit it, it was a coincidence, right? But we hit it at the right time. And the industry took notice, and we started getting big contracts and working with a lot of law firms and insurance carriers. And around, 2025, we started talking to some companies that were developing what I knew was the next generation of deposition tools. Yeah. Which is not only we were providing information, we were providing a transcript during the depo and lots of analysis and insights post depo, but I knew the next step was providing analysis and insights during the deposition. And that is where Filevine comes in, because they were developing their depo CoPilot tool, which allows you to put your goals in during the depo, put your identify which discovery is relevant to your goals and relevant to your deposition, and it will live give you insights and analysis during your deposition if someone is providing an inconsistent statement between a deposition they gave 10 years ago and now, or another witness in the case, and in this deposition, inconsistencies in medical records, and it will also suggest follow-up questions for you. It'll give you, if someone gave you an ambiguous answer, you're in hour 6 of the deposition, you're pretty sure that in hour 2 you got the answer you wanted. You take a break, you pull it up, and you can see that I thought that person said yes, but they actually said I'm pretty sure that happened.
I love it.
So it'll identify it for you, and it will tell you, hey, circle back around, and whether it's you or you have a second chair in the case, can be pulling these up and can say, go back and get a yes to that question.
That's unbelievable. So we're talking about CoPilot, we're talking about depositions and the acquisition. Just tell me where it went from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So right, Filevine was building that tool out, and it made sense. It was like a perfect partnership to go from, Parrot that had essentially the court reporting side of it, and Filevine that had the CoPilot side of it, and both sides just really tremendously benefited from merging, so that CoPilot now had the full court reporting side of it and could produce certified transcripts, right, and had the rough drafts and everything, and the video clip cutting, and we had that CoPilot tool, which nobody's doing as close to that, or certainly not better in the industry.
And what's amazing about all of this is that Parrot depositions was created by a trial lawyer, was created by a guy who was in the trenches, and for me, as a trial lawyer, I remember, going back, just having that tool, having something like a CoPilot, I think that's next level stuff, because for me, what was big was just having a live feed of testimony while I was in court, watching it, people talking, they're testifying, I'm able to sit and watch as it's being typed, and you kind of get this idea, but then now add that next step, because we're developing, getting better and better at this stuff, where there's it's feeding you questions through artificial intelligence. That's what CoPilot does.
Yes, and I think it will only get better, right? It's the primary use cases for depositions now, but this is what I dreamed of when I was building Parrot, was particularly being in trial, and more or less what you anticipate impeaching a witness with.
Sure.
Right, but we're humans, and our brain has great capacity, but not as much as a supercomputer, right? As artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So this idea of not just for depositions, but any meeting, any trial, any hearing of something live telling you hey, beep beep, what that witness just said is inconsistent with something that's buried, on page 6 of 10,000 medical records.
So are you saying that CoPilot, as the testimony is happening live, CoPilot has the database of the other depositions of the medical records, and it's watching and tracking and then saying, wait, here's a red flag, this is inconsistent?
That's correct.
Wow, man. That's think one of my favorite things that I used to love to do at trial was that either if a witness said something during, and they're during a direct and I'm going to cross-examine them, they say something and I know just from my memory, this was different. I got to go to I'll take a look at my transcript. I'll use something like a transcript pad just so I can quickly search the thing, find it. Or if a defense attorney or somebody is giving a closing argument and they say something that was inconsistent with the trial transcript, I can quickly search the trial transcript. But I also have to rely on my memory. You know what I mean? I have to rely on, which is imperfect. Do you know what I mean?
Of course. And it's a speed thing too.
So
it's a speed thing as far as well. So, depending on what kind of case it is, how long until you're about to go up and talk do you have before you now have to pull that up and be able to say what he or she just said, he or she just told you that the witness said this, or that the records say this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for you to pull that up and go, that is not what it says.
No, it takes time. And then I'm just thinking I would have to find it within the transcript. I mean, that was next level stuff. And what we're talking about is next level stuff. I would have to find it in the transcript, cut and paste it, send it to someone by email to get into a PowerPoint slide to be able to put up during my rebuttal or whatever.
Right.
But now you have a program that's changed the game, that actually does that, and it does it in seconds.
Right, and it's not in a distracting way. You don't have to be you don't have to be watching the feed live.
The CoPilot feed.
Right, and there's ideal ways to do it where you can take a look at it during a break, or if you have a second chair or a paralegal that's sitting with you that can pass you a note or that can inform you that there's something else that you should pay attention to.
Are you saying that CoPilot will actually tell you like the page and line from something prior, like another deposition that you took? Here's the page and line. This is what they said before. They just said this. Use it.
It'll give you the quote. It'll be a little caret right below the insight, and you click the caret. It drops down, and it'll give you the quote of what the relevant portion of the record
I got to run a demo. So is Filevine doing demos for depositions and CoPilot so that they can show customers how they're using it, how it's being integrated?
Absolutely.
And what's the feedback you're getting from the firms that are starting to use this stuff, or they're using it?
It's amazing.
It's cutting edge.
Absolutely. It's cutting edge. It's extremely insightful is what we're getting. Just the ability to process large amounts of data very quickly. And there's also a huge training component to it as well, which is that you have a new associate, someone not 100% sure what they're hoping to accomplish in this depot is your managing partner, you hire a new attorney, Eric, you can preset the goals, right? Every car crash case, here's the 5 goals I want you to submit. Here's the 5 types of discovery I need you to put in there. And so you have a goal library where those 5, those 10, whatever it is, will auto-populate, and that can be part of every deposition that your firm takes.
Wow.
So the other piece too we combined it with, this is again going back to the dream when Parrot first started of giving attorneys more data, more analytics on their depositions and in their transcripts, is having this deposition database. One of the things that happened every time I was going to take an expert depo, and I still see to this day, is attorneys will go, who's taken that expert's depo before?
Yeah.
And you have these plaintiffs, email chains and list servers.
Sure.
And they'll say, has anybody taken Dr. Smith's depo before? He's a cardiovascular surgeon out of Maine.
Yeah.
Has anybody taken the depo before? And so it became, well, why don't we provide access to that? How do we get access to that? So I know that someone in their firm 5 years ago where's that file? Oh, it's in the banker's box, at a warehouse. Or, they took the depo, but the case settled and it was never uploaded into our records. And so it became, how do you provide data points? How do you provide analysis? Or I know this prescription drug was mentioned in a depo. I don't remember which one. I took a couple years ago. I know that they just mentioned that. So it became, how do you benefit? How does your firm benefit from the experience of your law firm? And so it was creating like a searchable database, a functional searchable database, not just for specific words, but for names, but for concepts throughout your depositions.
Yeah. So once you start using this program, Depositions by Filevine, whether you add CoPilot or you don't add CoPilot, whatever you end up doing, it's creating a database. And so let's just say you have your expert witness, Dr. whatever, Smith, and you took him in his deposition in one case, you take it in another one, it's there. It's going to be there, it's going to exist, and it's going to be searchable.
Yes. And what I hope the future is, it's not completely dependent on me, is where we live in a world where attorneys are more willing to share their transcripts and share their motions, and of course it involves permissions and redactions.
Yes, of course.
But where you could search not just your firm's cases, right? Where you'd be able to search and say that depo of Dr. Smith out of Maine. Who's taken that?
It truly
depo
would be
before,
unbelievable because
and to be able to pull it, and what motions have been filed that are relevant. Who's filed a motion where that person's name was referenced? Who's filed the specific motion before? And so, where you're not just learning from what's happening inside your internally in your law firm, but where there's this collective intelligence of all the law firms in the country, or everybody on the plaintiff side, everybody on the defense side, everybody, all the prosecutors' offices around the country, or all the public defenders' offices. Who else certainly someone else in the public defender's office somewhere else has dealt with this motion, but how do I know what someone across the country filed unless I'm part of an email chain, and hopefully someone sees it. But
so you're like one of the early adopters of artificial intelligence. How does artificial intelligence, how has it changed the game with using Filevine, Depositions by Filevine and CoPilot?
So it's about producing in a couple different ways. There's the collection and analysis of data points, which is that you have the ability to get insights and get analysis from thousands, tens of thousands of data points in a way that the human mind just isn't powerful enough to compute. And so that's getting insights across tens of thousands of pages and finding connections between cases, connections between files and discovery. So that's one way. The other thing too that, and we're releasing this LOIS, right, this legal operating intelligence system, where you have the ability, it's not just where you're able to prompt the software and say, write me a motion that says this. And I think this is like where we're going, and really where we are rather, is this idea of agentic AI and adaptive intelligence, where the software is doing these steps for you. You're not having to prompt the software to perform an action, where it recognizes from a client intake call that you did, here's a retainer letter, here's the demand letter, here's all the motions that you file. Now here, Eric R., here's everything we put together. Please review them, edit them as needed, tell us what needs to be changed. And you're not having to prompt it to say, write me a letter, write me a demand letter.
This is so much going to another level now that I'm thinking about it. Like even in the litigation aspect, it's like when the answers to interrogatories come back and you just uploaded it into the system, this either Filevine or, like you said, LOIS. Right. It quickly analyzes it and it says, hey, they didn't really answer this question. And it just pumps out a motion to compel. Right. Boom, done. And it's there waiting for you. Like, could you imagine? Like, the productivity is through the roof. It's scary. You know what I mean? The level.
Right. It's about saving time. It's about being efficient. I know that the unfortunately, one of the use cases for artificial intelligence that gets the most press are these the hallucinations in citations, right, in case law. And when I look at that stuff, it's good attorneys aren't doing that. Artificial intelligence didn't turn that attorney into an attorney that doesn't check their cases or
exactly
isn't
100%.
It's someone that already is cutting corners and this is just another means of doing it. It's not converting.
Oh, 1,000%. You hit the nail on the head. I would not say like it's artificial. It's an artificial intelligence problem. It's the lawyer who was handling that case who decided to use artificial intelligence and then not like review, because every single lawyer has some level of like ethics and skill and know what they're doing. We know the term shepherdize. Like we take a look. Oh, look at the case. Make sure the citation is accurate. Is the citation accurate? And then is there any new cases that we could cite, or has it been overturned? And then you think about people who are just they're literally going to ChatGPT saying, "Hey, write me this motion," and then they cut and paste it and they put it in. They don't check it. Like that's insanity. You know what I mean?
The negative impacts of artificial intelligence on case law is, funny enough, a very human problem. Yeah. Humans should be, whether you're getting it from a first-year associate or whatever AI tool you're using, you have to be checking it, because it's your butt on the line for whatever you file.
And a lot of times, I mean, when you're filing a motion, if it's a motion to compel or if it's a motion for in limine or whatever, it's like you don't need 15 cases. Like find the case, make sure it's the right case, and cite it. You know what I mean? Like,
and what's funny enough is, because I've taught CLEs on artificial intelligence and what the use cases are. So when I've tried to talk about how, Parrot at the time was using artificial intelligence, I tried to use other very common use cases to say, everything you're using, every software in Outlook and the Smart, when you're starting to type an email and it suggests, like, that's artificial intelligence, where it's suggesting the next characters based on your history of emails. Sending with Gmail, the Smart Compose, it's I think it would be almost impossible at this point to find modern software, let alone legal software, that is not using AI. And what I always put in my slides is there are old articles from Westlaw, from Lexis, where they're releasing, right, their new versions of case law stuff. Sure. And they go, we've been using AI for over a decade to produce our summaries and produce our analysis. So we promise you this isn't anything new that you have to be scared of. And so I tried to use those examples to level set and say, this has been around for a long time. It's hot now and it's popular now to talk about it, but this has been in use for a while. And yes, the last couple of years, there's been some rapid developments in technology, but going back to the unfortunate press that a lot of AI and the law gets, it is around these around the use for case law. And again, it's a human problem around just checking to make sure that it's accurate.
Yeah. So, Filevine, let's talk about them, because like I've used them for a number of years. I think they're just the platform, case management software, the tools that it has. I think it's unbelievable. And I think, and I know that they're like expanding. I mean, they're getting bigger and bigger, right? And they're reinvesting in technology. Is that what's happening right now over there?
Absolutely. One of the main points of synergy that we saw in Filevine, as you mentioned, is being lawyer built. Not that every startup has to be, built by someone that has deep industry expertise, but I think that's a great start. And so Ryan Anderson, CEO of Filevine, he's a trial attorney.
Yeah.
Same thing with Parrot. Me being a trial attorney, we understood the pain points that attorneys were facing in a way that might not have come about if we were in some other industry and just started doing research, abstract research on where does the legal industry need to improve. So whenever a product question comes up, whenever a customer pain point comes up, not only do we have the ability to get on a call with a firm and just intimately understand the issues, but when it comes to the product roadmap, when it comes to building, it's definitely a head start to have someone that has that deep industry expertise.
And like the lawyers that aren't using case management softwares, because there's still a lot.
Sure,
okay?
there's some that use like Outlook and
it's
G
very
Suite.
surprising. Outlook, or they have their subfolders or whatever. They can't even comprehend the level of easy data that's like available on Filevine's platform. Whether you're just looking at the vitals and you quickly know what the date of the incident was, how much the medical bills are, when the date of the statute of limitations is going to be. And you know the name, you have the contact, you have the emails, and it's all like in one place. But I look at it like from the top, like from management, like from the CEO standpoint. Like I'm the CEO, I'm the managing partner of this law firm. Like to be able to quickly know what's happening across the board, and then but it trickles down to like every single team member.
Right.
And then not only that is it's so adaptable, like very quickly, like it's I forget what the word is, but you can quickly change things and modify and fix things. Like if something is like over here and you don't want it to be right there, you want it to move over a little bit, there's a whole very easy system in place under the advanced options where you can go in and you can just change stuff around. I was with a team member yesterday who just joined us, and we were talking about intake and newer cases, and she goes, the way that you have this, it's not easy when I look at it, like from my other firm, like it was much easier to look at. And we took one look at it and we go, let's change it. And we switched it. And now I'm like, wow, that is easier to look at. So you have other team members that are able to give feedback and make quick changes. Right.
Be able to customize it. And that's, your question about investing in the technology. That's what successful companies do is you don't look at it and go, great, we have a great product. Now let's just sell it. You have to keep improving the software, keep improving the product.
Your story, again, I think about it, it's just so awesome because we crossed paths. We had lunch the other day, and I had no idea. We came in, and I recognized I heard your voice a little bit, and then you told me that you were in the Palm Beach and the sex crimes, and I go, we crossed paths. And I remember, and I don't know, years ago. I mean, it had to be maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I remember. And you were this young prosecutor handling these cases, fired up, and what I love about it is I was a young attorney at this other law firm, associate or, whatever it was at the time. And then you look forward in that trajectory, like I left and I opened my own business in 2020. You went from the state attorney's office and you created a company like that is there to help lawyers. Like, tell me, what is the overall mission of Depositions by Filevine and CoPilot and the stuff that you're doing now?
It comes down to where I started. It comes down to justice. It comes down to getting the best result possible for your client, because whether it's your firm's resources or whether it's your time, you should be able to get the best result possible out of your cases. And so I see it as my job, my mission, our mission to empower you to do that and to give you the tools to do that, which is that you have all these tools out there to analyze the data points, to read the medical records, to summarize them and get chronologies and write motions. give you the power to write the best motion you've ever written, take the best depo you've ever taken on every single deposition.
Yeah. It's that, like, that's what I love about Filevine, is that they do have so many different tools, and you can pick the tools that you want. Like, I use Filevine and Domo. So Domo is like this.
Love me some Domo.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is a program that extracts the data from Filevine and it throws it up into charts, and easy to quickly look at and analyze the data that way. Lead Docket, they bought Lead Docket, another thing that was acquired, which we started using in our firm, and I switched from another program that was just so clunky and so complicated, and then Lead Docket just simplified it all into one place. And so, I mean, for me, the next step, you're selling me on it. We got to talk about this, is moving to depositions by Filevine, right?
Right.
But I want to talk. Let's talk a little bit about kind of like how depositions by Filevine, it's able to eliminate some of these fluff
waste,
costs.
the fluff.
What do they say when they're passing a bill? They call it like, what is it? They're passing a bill. There's all this extra like pork or something like that. What is it like?
Right. Fat, maybe the fat. I don't know.
Yeah, we got to cut the fat out of this stuff, right? So let's take a look and see here. So, now it would be the law firm. If I bring in depositions by Filevine,
right,
and I want to take a deposition of defense expert, and I want to video record it, right? I'm looking at an expert witness from an invoice here from one of the court reporting agencies. Videographer attendance fee was close to $500 for the first hour, and then looks like 150 or so, a little bit plus for additional hours.
Right.
Does Filevine by deposition by Filevine charge for that?
No. So the videography, that cost is gone. We recognize that it is, particularly looking at the video conference depots, that's gone. It's something that is, again, a setting on a video conferencing software. It's not something that should be charged $500, or I think we went through it around $800, almost $800. It's not a meritorious charge.
Now, let me ask you a question, because I know you've done some research, and like in Florida, for instance, does there have to be like a certified videographer that records this video, or how does that work?
And that's one of the misnomers that I've seen time and time again across the country, is just as far as what the licenses and qualifications are to be the deposition officer, to manage the deposition. And what some court reporting companies will do is, like, they'll throw extra bodies onto your depo to justify just adding charges, and the law firm won't ask questions, and they'll just let it happen and get charged for it, assuming that it's business as usual. So the idea is that our job is to ensure that we have someone compliant on there, that's compliant with the law, that has all the right licenses, all the right qualifications, but no more. And the right experience, I should say, but not adding unnecessary fees, unnecessary personnel, and just throwing unnecessary charges. One of the most common ones I see for remote depositions is like a litigation support package, which is just fancy language for Zoom hosting or video conference hosting. Yeah. And
do you guys host? Does Filevine deposition by Filevine do the hosting of the Zoom call?
Yes. Yes, and we don't charge for it. It really was just taking the fluff, whatever synonym you want to use in there, and saying what merits a charge? What are the services we're providing that are valuable? And then which of these can we identify and say that is frivolous, that is miscellaneous, whatever synonym you want to use, you shouldn't be charging for that. Charge for what merits compensation. Don't charge for anything more than that.
Got it. And then what about like exhibits? Like if there are exhibits that are going to be attached to the deposition transcript, are those are those include? How does that work?
So we don't charge for it, and that came from our Parrot days, where I had a conversation with the chief revenue officer of a very large Florida-based court reporting company, and he told me that 20 to 30% of their revenue comes from pages of the word index and pages of exhibits.
20 to 30%
of their
of revenue
costs
from these court reporting agencies.
And the word index for everyone now gets automatically generated by software. And the exhibits, what's happening with exhibits is you're just attaching, in most cases, a digital file, to a PDF. So it certainly doesn't merit, and because in some cases you may have hundreds or thousands of pages of records, and you're taking away from, the recovery for your client.
Yeah. I could see potentially if a court reporter, like, they need to charge some kind of administrative fee to be able to, because there's someone, maybe there's a person involved, but like what from our conversation, and just because I never check, right? I never check to see, like, if this is a 108-page deposition, am I getting paid however much I'm paying per page for 30 pages of index? Like that, like, there should be, as of in this day and age, right now, what we're talking about, no lawyer should be getting charged for the index at all. I mean, it is like just automatically generated. It takes no time. It's not a person typing it up, right? Do you guys charge for the index or? No,
we absolutely don't. And I hope that's something that, and I think when we developed like our core Parrot customer base, one of the things I really, really focused on was saying we want to build champions, build people that love this. And one of the ways that happened, and that's continuing to happen with depositions by Filevine, is the genuineness and the transparency around what we're charging for. I can't guarantee we're going to save you money. We're providing world-class, cutting-edge technology that's hopefully going to give you larger recoveries, more money in your client's pocket. I can't guarantee we're going to save you money. What I can guarantee, though, is that we're going to be upfront and transparent about what you're being charged, and we're not going to charge you for something that's frivolous, something that doesn't merit compensation. And you cannot say the same about most other vendors.
I think the biggest savings, like for instance, I'm looking at a case here. This is a trucking case that it ultimately resolved, that we took the deposition of a corporate representative. And in getting prepared for trial, or really, let's just say getting prepared for mediation, because trial was down the line a little bit.
Right.
We order the transcript because I need to see it. I want to know what this person said, and I want to be able to put it into a PowerPoint presentation or something for mediation. I get charged $700 to order that transcript. Right? I'm ordering it. I got to pay for it.
Right.
Is it like, does depositions by Filevine, in that scenario, you're already getting a rough copy, so you have the testimony. You don't have to pay for that, or it's included in the deal. You're not paying for this full certified transcript.
Right. That is one of the, if not the main pain points that we tried to solve when we developed this company, is looking at the numbers and saying 9 out of 10 or 9.5 out of 10 cases resolve. You need to know what happened out of that deposition. You need to have that for negotiations. You need to have that for your files. You need to have that for reference. But in a lot of cases, you're not required by law to order it. You don't need it until you're ready to put it into evidence or attach it to your motion. So it comes down to, we're giving you this extremely accurate rough draft. We're giving you video on every single case. We're giving you the ability to cut clips on every single deposition that you take without charging above and beyond, right, what we're charging for the hourly for the reporter's appearance. And you're getting all these powerful tools. And again, you have that optionality when it comes to whether or not you're ordering the certified. One of the most effective use cases we've seen with firms is that they can go into mediation, they can go into arbitration without ever ordering that certified. So they're able to have that audio video, cut clips of it very quickly, put it into a day in the life or put it into a PowerPoint presentation and present it without having to, again, spend thousands of dollars on that certified.
You brought up an important thing that I want to understand for the users also, or the people that are watching, is that because cutting clips can be it can be pain, it can be time, it takes a lot of time. It can be complicated. Are you saying that depositions by Filevine, you're able to, like, there's a platform, and a simplified platform for me to say, okay, I remember I asked these questions, it was 30 pages in or so, and you're able to just cut it, clip it, and put it into a video?
Yep, you just highlight the text, and then automatically a modal pops up, and you click cut, and it automatically cuts the clip.
Is there a page in line that shows up, like it's like numbered, and that's going to be the rough copy? You're saying I can just highlight the text, and it is going to cut and sync a clip of the video in a short thing, and I can throw it into a PowerPoint?
Yeah, it shouldn't take you more than a minute to do that.
Oh my God, man. Yeah, yep. I mean, I'm like, I like it. I like it. I mean, these are the things that, like, trial lawyers, it's not easy. You end up having to hire, in-court technology. You have to outsource it. You have to contact someone to help you cut those clips. It's not easy to do that, especially synced.
Right. Well, this is where a lot of the competitive moat came in. we've had a lot of imitators since we started doing this.
Yeah.
But particularly when we first started, we took a look at what the base work product you got back from court reporters was, and it was the certified. You pay a lot of money for the reporter to show up. You order certified in every depo, 10 days, 2 weeks, your transcript comes back, and that's the workflow on every single deposition. There's no analysis, there's no hyperintelligence, there's no suggestions on next steps, none of it. And so we had said, what if we'll provide you? You want a reporter show up? We'll have a reporter show up. You want an option to order certified? Give you the option to order certified. But you're also getting real time, rough draft, audio, video, syncing, summaries, clip cutting, the ability to communicate with others in your law firm with notes. I mean, all of it. And it was just, I don't want to throw the word revolution around lightly, but we were really the first to ever go and say, there's so much more you can get out of your deposition than just ordering a certified at the end of it.
No, I mean, like everything that we're talking about, like I'm just thinking like just logistically on any given case that I have, it's deposition gets taken, we order it, we wait 2 weeks, we get a transcript separately, we get a MPEG or whatever file. We don't know whether it's synced or not. And then if I want to get clips of that, if I want to designate it, I got to send it to somebody else so they can put it into their software, they can do it and they can clip it up. And then maybe I can use it at a mediation.
Right.
So or trial, you know what I mean? And trial's obviously a different story. But this sounds like a solution that just makes life so much easier and more effective.
Yeah, there's so many costs. And again, I know because I've done thousands of discovery calls at this point, a lot of attorneys don't pay a ton of attention to the court reporting invoices.
Yeah.
And they just think, okay, what's our rate with them? Okay, it's this per hour, this per page. Great, that's what we're paying. But it really adds up when you look at, now I need a hot seat operator, now I need a trial tech, now I have to have software to cut clips and software to sync, and now I have to have a hire videographer. So it really adds up, and a lot of attorneys go, no, I know we're paying this per hour, this per page. And I go, let's look at the invoices and see what it would cost to do it with us and what it would cost to do it with them. And almost invariably they're more expensive.
So again, the dynamic of this product that Filevine is offering now, Depositions by Filevine, does a paralegal reach out to a representative that's at Filevine that schedules the deposition, gets the court reporter, gets the link, sends it back to us so that we can send out a notice and someone shows up? Like, how does it work?
That was one of the parts of the workflow we immediately made more efficient.
Yeah.
Court reporting, since maybe the dawn of emails, has been done via sending emails back and forth. And we look at how much time it took, paralegals and sometimes attorneys who schedule too, to schedule depositions. It's a lot of back and forth emails. So something like 6 emails to schedule a deposition, because they go, we have a deposition on this date. Do you have someone available? We do. Please send us the notice.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the notice. Okay. Do you need a link or in person? Like, there's just so many it's been modified. It's been rescheduled. We have to cancel it. We're going to reschedule it. Okay. When you send us the amended notice, then we'll put it on the books and confirm. And there were just so many emails that go back and forth when it comes to how to schedule a deposition. We said, why can't it be as simple as ordering an Uber or ordering something off Amazon? When you look at these old workflows, things like scheduling, they have to evolve. Can you imagine like emailing Amazon and saying, hey, I want a 10-foot ladder, stainless steel ladder. Can you please let me know what you have available? Can you send me one? It's crazy. And so we developed a scheduling portal where you put the date and the time and you hit confirm, and it confirms your deposition. And then through our Rolodex and our back office with court reporters, we book the court reporter, and we have a 100% show and guarantee rate on the reporter showing up and being there.
Wow. And then in that report, are they going to be typing, or is it just going to be audio recorded? And is that allowed in Florida?
So we have a variety of modalities of court reporting that we use. All are compliant with Florida law, all are compliant with the law in every single state that we work in, and it's a variety of different modalities of court reporting. What I think is one of the most interesting parts of the way we developed Parrot, which is now Depos by Filevine, is that the modality of court reporting called voice writing or oral stenography has been around for a long time. Yeah. Where the reporter is speaking into a soundproof mask. Older attorneys are more familiar with this than younger attorneys. But where I remember the murder trials, a lot of murder trials in the South, you can see them on TV, where the reporter is speaking into a soundproof mask. They call it a steno mask, and they're just repeating what the other person is saying, and it is connected, right, to Dragon Speaks or other automated speech recognition software. And this is one of the part of the genesis of Parrot is I go, they're already doing this in a not very accurate way, but it's already being done. So if we can make sure that we capture the audio properly, why do we have to have a person repeating
the middleman,
the testimony? It's already being said.
Yeah.
And so that's where it comes into, multi-channel, multi-track audio recording. So that's where the technology piece comes from, where it is parts of it are based on this oral stenography voice writing, which has already been done, already accepted as a method of court reporting across the country. Because those reporters, they just go and they speak into the mask and they go and edit it after.
Yeah.
And so it's already being done. But what we do is we provide still a reporter on every single deposition. And so you can still get a compliant certified.
Sure.
And it's all based on reliable and time and true tested court reporting principles.
Got it. And then I guess as far as like cost and pricing, someone who's interested, they're going to reach out to Filevine.
Yep.
They're going to talk to a rep. They're going to sit down. Filevine will put together a package, and they'll
Absolutely.
be able to talk about
you can look at an easy as depositions at filevine.com.
Yeah.
That is, that could be a source
Yeah.
for where you go. I actually told this to my wife earlier when she asked where I was going,
Yeah.
all dressed up. I don't get to wear the suit all that often. She asked me, what kind of stuff is he going to be asking? And I told her about, how Parrot started and how we got with Filevine. And I really got emotional, not being cheesy, talking about what you shared with me. I don't know if you've talked about this on your podcast, so we'll see.
Oh, yeah.
Is what motivated you to take the next step in your career and in your journey to start your own law firm? I really think that is the toughest part for attorneys. And I want to share this anecdote, and I could tell you my thoughts on it. But you had shared with me that you think you had gone to like the father-son or the man of my life type day and seen something at your son's school.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the sheets they had, right, as kids do, they fill out information about their parents, favorite food and favorite sport and what are their interests. And you shared with me that your son's favorite memory with his father was the days that you come home in enough time to put him to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you recognizing that was, that was tough.
It was a catalyst. Major.
Yeah.
Major.
Yeah. And so kudos to you for, I mean, I don't know if you, now we can turn the tables around, turn the chairs around.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that like for you, and what was the process like for you then to start your own law firm?
Yeah, no, sure, man. That is one of the famous stories of what kind of led me to open my own firm. And it's kind of almost like a counterintuitive idea where my goal was to become a great trial lawyer, become the best personal injury lawyer that I could ever be, and just handle big cases and have no fear and be able to go in the courtroom. And part of that was the sacrifice of spending that amount of time in court, in the office, early mornings, late nights, like weekends, sacrificing family vacations. And that was like a drive that I had for a very long time. Then you have kids and it can't stop. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't just all of a sudden stop. You got to be earning a living. You got to pay the mortgage. You got to do everything that you need to do as a father, as a husband. And so you over time, you start to see the impact of that it has on you personally. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like in your family, in your life. And I had missed a number of vacations. I had missed a number of things where, and the story was that I think there was probably a time a little bit before that where I started to get a little bit of a fire. I might have read a book about an entrepreneur and business, but I don't know how it was there. The seed was planted. But I remember one day just going to it was an after hours. I got out of work a little bit earlier. I was able to get to this after school thing, parent teacher thing, and it was preschool. It was like PK4, and my son must have been 4 years old or so, something like that.
Right.
And I remember going in, and up on the board there were these drawings where kid wrote, what do I love most about my dad? And it was, I love going swimming with him. I love when he plays football with me. I love when he throws a frisbee. And my kid wrote, I love when he tells me he's going to try to come home early.
Yeah.
And it hit, and I remember reading it, and I was like almost shocked. Like it was almost like, wait, what? You know what I mean? Like, and it was a moment where like it was a realization. I don't know that I got emotional at that moment. It was more like, wait, what? Like, wait. Then there was the realization, you know what I mean? And I think that was one of those things where it was like, it began this process in my mind of, hey, I've gotten to that point of being the great trial lawyer, of having the reputation, having the skill. Maybe I need to start doing something where like I can spend more time with my family. And the counterintuitive part is, okay, let me quit the job and open my own business, because
right.
you know how many hours it takes to become, successful business owner. It's not easy, but there is a little bit more, there is some level of flexibility where you can be there during the hours you need to be there and then work either later or earlier or whatever. I mean, I just, you think about it. It's like if you're a business owner, if you don't have to be in the office by 8:30 or 9, you can take the kids to school, which I started to do. I was taking the kids to school. Then I was, it was a different deal. And you could be home to put them to sleep, and then maybe you work a little bit later through the night. You could be there for these important events. That was for me, Yeah.
I mean, working those late nights, and that was a common fight, between my wife and I, in my household, where it was maybe more acceptable or more understandable when I was doing that as a prosecutor, because I would say, I'm reviewing a search warrant.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to go, we have to move tonight.
Yeah.
We have to make a decision tonight. We have to present to the judge tonight. I'm trying to save somebody. I'm trying to put, this guy's out on bond. I got to revoke his bond. I listened to a jail call, and I have to be doing this. I'm sorry I can't be there for dinner. It was still painful for my wife, but maybe more understandable. That was one of the difficult aspects. You don't see when they do the profiles on, very successful founders, just like what the impacts are to the family, which is, I still had to do that when I was starting Parrot, but but at least I don't think my family, I know they couldn't understand, because they say nobody's dying. Like there's no, nobody's out there. Nobody's running around with a gun. I mean, that's not your job anymore. But it's what it took to build the company. Because you do everything as a founder, as a law firm founder, you do everything. You don't have the resources to have, a huge team that can build stuff out. You grind and you scrap and you do absolutely everything that you can to get off the ground, to get customers, to be all across the country and fly around everywhere to meet people and be there in person and.
It's a hustle, man, to do what you did. You know what I mean? And from our other earlier conversations, like you were doing everything. You're making the calls.
Everything.
You were the court reporter.
I was quality checking every single transcript we were producing.
Yeah.
I was, backing up. I was backup on calls. I was doing on depositions. I was absolutely everything. I was on every single call. I was on absolutely everything that needed to be done to get the company off the ground and to get us going. And it's failure wasn't an option. I was missing time with my family. So much of my resources and time and money and everything was put into this. Like failure wasn't an option. Yeah. And it's just it's what needs to happen. If you're a lazy founder or you don't spend enough time and it's not your life, if it's not your passion, it's whether it's your startup or your law firm or whatever it is, you're not gonna get it off the ground. You're not gonna build that up.
And you're also moving it at like you're putting in all your time, but then you're not there isn't someone that's influencing you to the where you need to be. You know what I mean? Right. I know at least for me it was like I had to be in the office through the weekends. I had to be in court for multi-week trials. Like I remember my second kid was born 2016. That was a year. I mean, I had, I think, 4 multi-week, almost like month-long trials. Right after my son was born, I was in a 1-month trial. You know what I mean? Right. And then that one ended, and a week or 2 later, I was in the next month-long trial. And so I didn't even see him. So I think at least with me, COVID happened right when I opened my business, and it was like devastation for the world. For me, it was a time where I was I had no case. I left my office with my law firm in January 2020. I didn't have any cases. I was co-counsel on one case. I tried it in February. I had no other cases, and the world shut down. But I look back fondly at that time where all of a sudden I was spending all this time with my kids, and then I had all this time in my office, and they had to be, I think, on remote school and stuff. And so I was focused on trying to figure out how to get cases and how to market and stuff. And, but like you said, I think to be able to do it, you got to put everything you got into it.
Yeah.
And as much as the catalyst for me leaving my prior firm was maybe I can have more time with my family, I think it was also a long game. It was like, it's not going to be immediate. You know what I mean?
Right.
Although COVID made it somewhat immediate, but
right.
To grow this business over this time, it's like you never stop working. You know what I mean? It's like, as much as I can go away on a vacation to Hawaii, I'm still, if I get a call, like I see something
right.
coming through, I'm answering it. You know what I mean?
right.
I do not want to miss, if a client's calling me and they need me, I'm handling it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you get to a point, I think, where you grow, where you're able to start delegating a lot of this stuff out. I'm big on that idea of being able to find the right people for the different positions so that you can focus on the things that you do best.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
mean, even the biggest unicorn companies, the most valuable companies in the world,
Yeah.
even like so you have the most involved, like if Elon Musk, who's, he's managing 4 or 5 different companies within a day, I don't know. I mean, I've listened to a lot of stuff that he talks about like context switching and how about you can't respond to emails about every single company, at the same time. You have to have blocks for it. But you have to delegate. Right? You put a ceiling on your growth if you have to be involved in every single conversation and every single case and every single company. You have to trust. You have to hire right, and you have to trust the people that you hire to do the job, because you put a ceiling on your ability to grow. If you feel the need, you have to be in every decision.
How big did Parrot get? How many people?
We got to about 40 people, but it's nothing compared to what Filevine is now.
And Filevine, tell me about the culture there. I mean, I the stuff that I see online, the people that I talk to and communicate with, I've had a very good relationship with them over the years, and I've always been thrilled with their product. So, I mean, it seems like a kind of a young, maybe just like really future forward. How do we grow? How do we provide the very best in legal technology?
Yeah, so I describe it, these are my words. I say that the culture is like up and to the right, which is the revenue, everything is how fast can we move, and the revenue, the numbers, everything is going up.
Yeah, it's stock. It's like stock, and then they just raised a ton of money, right?
Right. Did a big capital raise, and the culture, it's one that just fosters acceleration, and the community within the team. It's very much, Ryan sends an email out every single week, which is like a motivational, here's what we're working on, here's how you crush it this week. So it's very much about fostering acceleration and fostering growth, and just recognizing and calling things out for what they are. That's one of the things that I appreciate most, which is you feel free to confront, feel free to question. Yeah. Don't be a stooge. Don't be a mindless person. Everybody here was hired because they have fantastic ideas, because they have great experience and great training. Use your brain. We didn't hire you to be mindless. Use your brain and crush the competition.
I love that you went from prosecutor to tech company. Like I think one of the things that fired me up right around the time I was leaving, I was reading this book by Tim Ferriss, and it was called Tools of Titans, and it was just this compilation of all these like world-class performers in technology and startups and athletes and business, and there's something so appealing about that community, and like not so. Another good show. What is it on Silicon Valley on HBO Max? Man, that show's just hilarious. It's like that, but on like just like the slapstick level,
right?
You know what I mean? But like,
it's amazing how accurate that show was.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's that. Yeah, I mean, I know there's a level of it's accurate to some extent. You know what I mean? But then over the top, funny. But there is something so like very interesting, very cool about technology and the way that you guys bring in really, really great talent, and you have the money to do it. You have that ability to attract great software programmers, great sales, great everything. You know what I mean? Management, and you got the funds. I see them continuing to grow and grow, and the competition out there. I mean, there's always going to be competition. Competition's healthy. I think that's great. And Filevine may not be for everybody. I know that at least in the personal injury field, and people I've talked to and who use it, for the most part, I mean, everyone they love it. I love it.
Right. I mean, you have world-class, not only do you have world-class, operations team, but it's also, like you mentioned, the engineers, the designers, the product managers, everyone behind it. I always get a little, I don't know what the word is. It's funny to me when someone asks to talk about like the company that I built. I'm like, I didn't write the code.
Yeah.
It's
Neither did Steve Jobs.
Right. It's extremely talented computer scientists, machine learning engineers, people that have studied computer vision for years and built some world-class technology, prior to Parrot, at Parrot, and now at Filevine, that are behind a lot of this. And I wish they got more. I wish there was a way to spotlight them more. I wish there was a way to give them more attention. Because of I had conversations before coming here, conversations all morning for all the new stuff that we're doing for Depots by Filevine, and it's a lot of times it's the people that are coding it and designing it behind the scenes that don't necessarily get spotlight or limelight that are the engine that the vehicle runs on. Yeah.
No, I mean, and you got to be it's important to be. You brought this up before, and it was you asked the question, and I think people that are watching this, like, and if they have that entrepreneur fire, because I do every so often, like my mind just starts to think, okay, what's the next? Is there another venture? Like, what's the next thing? You know what I mean? And you asked that question. What was the question again? It's
what's the most inefficient part of the question to me was my practice. What's the most inefficient part of your job that could be solved by technology?
I love it. Yeah, I love it. And that's the catalyst. That's the beginning. And you write that. I mean, everyone should just write that on like a board somewhere. I'm gonna take that. I'm not kidding. I'm gonna type it up. I'm gonna print it. I'm gonna put it up on the wall. And so that every so often I look over them and read it, and then like it's the beginning to start thinking.
Right.
And people who think and then they find that solution. You found something unbelievable where, a massive growing technology company reaches out and says, "Hey, we want you to come with us."
Identifying the problem is certainly one of the first steps.
Yeah.
I have talked to so many people that maybe have heard about Parrot or heard about the acquisition and go, let me tell you something. I had this idea 15 years ago and I just didn't do anything about it. I talked to a woman the other day that she, like 20 years ago, not 20, about 15, I think she said, had this idea. She goes, I just had so much trouble meeting people, like meeting someone good to date. I thought, what if, we have these crazy devices in our hands. What if there was a way to just easily, you'd see who was around you that was eligible to date, and you could easily, sift through them and figure out who would be a good match for you. And then look what happened. And it's the action step.
It's the action. I was just going to say it's action. You got to take incredible action, right?
Yep, you do. It's the action step. It's also one of the problems I see is knowing, not just being aware of, but recognizing what are the possibilities for your career path and for your life path out there. I really see there too many people I know that that are attorneys, and they just say, here's what I think I can do. Like, here's the highest I can reach in the next 10 years, in the next 15 years, right? Maybe I'll get a job at a personal injury firm. I'll make partner. I'll be on the partner track, right? Maybe I'll eventually get equity partner. And that's all they know. Like, they don't even know that they don't even conceptualize, like starting a company, learning about AI, doing something different. It's not even in their wheelhouse, in their world.
It's not in their world. And I think there are different people. There are the people that, and I think there's a benefit a lot of times for some of that group, right? Where there's a level of comfort, where they get peace, right? It's like, and like for me, like it's almost like trial, right? Like when I go to trial, it's like the world stops and there are like these blinders that just pop on, and you don't have to worry about anything else. And there's just this one goal, this one mission, and there's a level of peace to it. Like some people get all crazy. I get a little bit more peaceful about it, because then you don't have to, you turn out everything else. I think that there are some, and it's a benefit, like to be able to find a great, office or law firm or whatever, as long as they're happy, as long as it's making them happy.
Sure.
So they're able to clock in, they can head home, they can turn off a lot of stuff in their mind. They don't have the entrepreneur mindset, because with a lot of entrepreneur mindset, there's a lot of risk. There's a ton of risk. There's getting rid of the benefits. There's getting rid of, that net, that cushion. There's the risk that it doesn't succeed. You know what I mean?
Yep. I've had many conversations with attorneys that go, I'm not very happy where I am.
Yeah,
I got passed over for shareholder. I got passed over for partner. I have way more, I bring in way more business, but that person's been here longer.
Mm-hmm.
I've been told that many times.
Yeah.
And I go, why don't you start your own firm?
Yeah.
Why don't you? And they go, I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
And it's not just being aware of the possibilities, but it's taking that action step. But it's not easy. It's not easy to recognize and say there's a ceiling on this path.
Those are the folks that I worry about, the ones that are unhappy, that are like exhausted and tired, because we know there's another way. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of getting the mindset and the tools and the support and hopefully like the financial support to be able to take that step, to make that move.
Right.
But I mean, it's what you did is unbelievable, especially starting, as a prosecutor and then coming up with this idea and now being acquired by Filevine. And I think it's just going to continue to get better and better. That's what I see.
I'm so impressed by the technology that Filevine is producing now. It really is. It's so much of it is a game changer as far as how attorneys practice and making the whole operation more efficient.
How can people, if they want to reach out to Filevine, like where are they going to look so they can speak to a rep and talk to them about Depositions by Filevine, which formerly was Parrot, your company that you created? How do they reach out and then start getting this product set up in their firm?
So you can start on the depo side. You can go to depositions@filevine.com. You can email depositions@filevine.com. But also, if you go to filevine.com, you're able to navigate through to the specific tool that you're looking for and reach out and set up a call.
Yeah, and I know that they have a ton of sales reps that will jump on it. They will set up that call. It'll be a Zoom meeting, probably like a discovery thing. Ask the kind of questions that you were asking before, like, hey, what type of deposition service are you using? What do the bills look like? Things like that. What's
amazing too about Filevine is, you're looking or you're talking to the sales team for Parrot for most of the history of the company.
Really?
And
that's nice.
Right. It was me. We hired we built out a couple people, but I don't think it was ever more than 5. And when we were acquired, it was I'd say 2.5 if you include me. So one of the things that's impressive about Filevine is it's a very mature sales organization. And one of the things that I've loved is just, we have this enablement team that does a really expert job of training everybody on the sales side so that when you're on the call with your valuable time to learn about this tool, you're getting the answers you need. You're not going to have to encounter, I don't know the answer to that. I'll set up another call with someone that does.
Yeah.
You're to get the privilege to meet with a law firm to sell the software, you have to go through quite a bit of training and certification to even be allowed to get on that call to speak to the law firm because Filevine recognizes how valuable that lawyer's or legal staff's time is.
Yeah, that's great. Listen, this has been, I think, a fantastic podcast, and I'm thrilled that you came and joined us. And Depositions by Filevine, it sounds like an amazing product, and I'm going to set up my discovery call so that I can go through it all and see what the product offers.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and go Canes.